Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is August 14th, and right now we are looking at the mid-level water vapor loop. We have Alaska, British Columbia, Washington, and Oregon. You can see the system coming for us tonight and tomorrow right here, this little circulation off the Oregon and California coastline. But the big weather maker here is across portions of Alaska and the Gulf of Alaska, and this is going to set up shop right off our coastal areas here. And this is going to bring the chance of thunderstorms back across western portions of the Cascades, Oregon, Southwest BC. So we're going to dive into those details here as we go through this morning. You're probably seeing that on your weather apps on your phone and whatnot as well. So we're going to cover those details for you here as we go. Let's go back and take a look at yesterday. You can see the thunderstorm activity across Idaho, North Cascades, Washington, British Columbia. A few more storms develop across some of the Blue Mountains here and on in through Idaho last night. And we come out back towards this morning, and you can kind of see the little spin in the atmosphere down here. That's going to help kick off some storms as we go through tonight across Oregon and then for tomorrow again. Now, taking a look at what we've been doing over the last 30 days, picked up about 3,000 subscribers. So again, just a thanks to everybody who's come on and clicked the subscribe button, and for my viewers that come back and watch these videos daily. This channel is not possible without you. Taking a look here at that thunderstorm threat, this is for later across some of the Oregon Cascades, eastern Oregon, and we go through tomorrow. You can't rule one out for the Washington Cascades as well, and then we go day 3 Friday. Then Saturday is really when we start to turn up the thunderstorm threat for eastern portions like Seattle, Portland, up into Southwest BC. More on that here in a moment. Looking at isolated dry thunderstorm potential as we go through this evening and tonight for Oregon, and then again for tomorrow as well, and just off to the southeast of Pendleton and just off to the west of Boise. So looking at Seattle, again, below average yesterday. We're going to remain so here for the next few days at least, and not exceptionally cool here, but, you know, a little bit below average, kind of seasonably cool. And so far this month, a lot of the region has been above average. A lot of areas pretty exceptionally warm, to be honest with you. We'll look at some of those temperature anomaly maps here in a moment also. This is for Thursday afternoon through Friday evening for eastern Washington, portions of Idaho. This is Spokane National Weather Service. Locally heavy rain is possible for some areas. And of course, any thunderstorm can produce a deadly cloud to ground lightning. Now, looking at the high resolution rapid refresh, we're going to scroll through this, and I just want to give you a timing here as we go through this evening here. You can see these are starting off later across some of the southern Oregon Cascades, moving off to the east. And then on Thursday, we have some of this activity moving up during the morning hours, but then you see the stronger storms develop as we go through Thursday afternoon shown there. And that's just about when the her run ends. If we take a look there, a little spoiler for you on that first shot, but if we take a look here at last night's European model run here again tonight and Thursday, you see that thunderstorm threat there. Can't rule one out for the Washington Cascades up into British Columbia also. Then we go through Friday, again, another round of thunderstorms for some areas. But as we go through Saturday, you notice this start to emerge across western Oregon and then western Washington and southwest BC, so the Cascades of both Washington and Oregon. That is our chance for thunderstorm activity west of the Cascades. It's fairly rare, at least compared to across the higher terrain and portions east. Now, looking at what is going on in the upper levels of the atmosphere. So this is that area here, Thursday, that moves through, and you can see that upper level low kind of spinning there and moving across the region. Then we get this batch of energy here that's going to bring this cutoff low and just let it sit here and spin off our coastline for a few days. This is last night's European run. It goes 144 hours, but you can see it spinning and not moving too much as we look off in towards the early portion of next week, before that low starts to finally drift back across the area. So we could have multiple rounds of precipitation with this low, and I'll show you some of that here in a moment as well. So what does this look like in the upper levels of the atmosphere? What is going on? This is about 18,000 feet. And you can see this area of cooler air here, or cold air, whatever you want to call it. British Columbia, Washington, Oregon to be right here. So Gulf of Alaska, let's put this into motion and see if we can track this storm. Here it goes. You can see this area of colder air getting cut off. And this correlates perfectly with the upper level heights that I typically show at 500 millibars that we just looked at, in fact. And you can kind of see this area of colder air is just cut off from the main flow off to the north. And then it sits there for a bit, and then watch what happens here as another polar lobe kind of moves across here and actually reinforces it, and it wants to spin up another cutoff low as we go through the extended. We're not going to worry about that one too much here, but it is something the Europeans been showing. But first things first, we have to deal with this cutoff low that's going to be with us for a few days as we go on in through next week, potentially drifting back over us for a bit, and then getting reinforced as we go through next week. So looking at the European on the left versus GFS on the right, right, let's look at some of the timing of this precipitation. So as we go through Thursday, you can see the activity there, and then again Friday. But then you see pretty good agreement really between the GFS on the right versus the European on the left, with that precipitation starting as we go through the day. This would be late morning Saturday, just starting for some of the southern Oregon coast, moving up across portions of western Oregon. Then as we go through Saturday afternoon, it spreads up across western Washington. It's their Saturday night here. We go through Sunday morning as well, as you can kind of see the negative tilt to that trough off our coastal areas there. So getting some good agreement on the timing of this system. Here we go through Sunday late morning. There's Sunday afternoon. Once we continue the precipitation for some areas, we go through Sunday night. Then we finally get a bit of a break as that spreads north across British Columbia and through portions of Alberta. And then that upper level low will be right off our coastline here and probably drifting across the region here as we go on in through what probably at some portion on Monday night or Tuesday. Now, I want to kind of show you something here, because this is not like a typical, nasty winter storm where we're going to get a huge bump in the wave activity. Little bit of a bump here comes during the weekend here, but you're not getting much surface response here. That's why we kind of designate it as an upper level low. And then as we go off through the extended, maybe a little bump in the wave activity here. But, it is August here in the Pacific Northwest. You're not going to, don't expect to go out to the coastline and see any huge waves with this storm is what I'm basically trying to get at. You don't have to worry about that too much in the coastal areas. Now, taking a look at the European ensemble as of yesterday afternoon, we're looking at total precipitation in inches. And if we scroll through here, I'm just going to kind of continue on through here and just kind of give you a broad overview of what's going on as we go on and through next week. This will be late Wednesday morning, and you can see some of that precipitation across BC and some decent amounts across some of the higher terrain. But you see Seattle checking into a third of an inch here. Columbia Basin kind of getting skunked. It continues to show that. But if we scroll a bit further out through the 10-day period, a bit more precipitation starts to fall. So not an overall washout across a lot of the areas here, but definitely much needed precipitation. Now, taking a look at the North American high resolution model, we're starting to get close enough to where we can kind of see these features. This is the system coming in Wednesday night and Thursday. You can clearly see the cyclonic vorticity here moving across the area. It's going to help kick off some of those storms. But if we go out towards the end of the run, you'll notice right out here, that's our system out there that's going to be with us. And you can now start to see it on the high resolution model. So by the time we start to get into maybe tomorrow about this time, we'll start to see some of this activity moving up across the area. So it'll be fun watching the high resolution models get into range. This is looking at Astoria. So what this is 24-hour precipitation totals here. And you can see you've got all 50 European ensemble members here with the control run, the deterministic, basically the same thing now, is at the bottom there. That's the initial conditions, best we understand them. And then we tweak the initial conditions of all of these 50 ensemble members to try to correct for misunderstandings in the atmosphere. And then you get a mean in the green there. You average all those out and you get a mean, and the control run is the bottom one there in the blue line, showing about 0.4 of an inch. So Brookings, Oregon, you're probably going to get in the action here as well. We're looking at Portland now. Very few ensemble members are showing zero precipitation here, and some pretty decent amounts in some of these. I mean, one of them even has up over an inch, and you kind of see that in the gray lines here. This is the outlier here on the European ensemble member. Actually, what is that ensemble member number 9 or 10 there? I can't see exactly, but pretty close. There's Seattle Tacoma International Airport. You can see a few of these ensemble members do have even up over an inch in a 24-hour period, but caution, the mean is much lower, right around 1/3 of an inch there, and the control saying about 1/2 an inch. Vancouver International Airport, decent amounts here, only a few ensemble, only a couple actually, maybe 2 or 3 show no precipitation occurring. Tri-City is a little bit different story. You can see that one ensemble here with 0.8 of an inch here. What is that, number 19 or number 20? And you can see the gray checks there for kind of showing that precipitation, but the mean is much lower, and the control run doesn't show any precipitation at all. And this goes out to, I should mention, this goes out to Monday night as the end of this timeline. So taking a look at Yakima here, you can see we've got the control and the mean also. It shows a little bit of precipitation, and some of them heavier than others. You got 1, 2, 3 that show up over 1/2 an inch. But again, no promises out there. A lot of these ensemble members don't have much precipitation at all. A little bit better picture here for Stevens Pass. The control run is up over 0.8 of an inch. This is for Whistler up into British Columbia. Also a couple rounds of rainfall coming on through here, so that'll be good to see. Seattle, Tacoma, this is another way of looking at it here. So this is total precipitation ensemble spread. So this is just total accumulated precipitation. And you can see the highest ensemble member has what, about 1.35 inches of rain or so. And the control has just under 6/10 of an inch by the time we get towards Sunday night. And the green line is the mean, just up over 4/10 of an inch here. So yeah, fun stuff to look at. Seattle, Tacoma on the GFS. So you can see the mean is right here about the green line, and you can see by the time we get out towards the following weekend here, you're looking at maybe 4/10 of an inch. But you can see there is some discrepancy here in the ensembles for sure, which is typical. Now, looking at the smoke here, I want to show you guys this, the 12Z. I know I've got a lot of good feedback on showing this, but this is a vertically integrated smoke. So this takes into account what is at the surface and is what is aloft as well. So let's scroll on in through Thursday, Friday. You can kind of see the upper level low, kind of keeping some of the smoke drifting back across western portions and, across the eastern portions as well. We got some fires across the Cascades, no doubt. But this is looking at surface smoke. You can see particularly nasty across portions of the southern Oregon Cascades and some of the higher terrain of Idaho, and some of this has been drifting down towards Boise at times also. So if we put this into motion, you can see some of that smoke drifting around and about there. So this is actually the 11Z run. Let me actually update that, and we'll put on the 12Z so it goes out 48 hours. But if I put that into motion, you notice you're not getting much surface smoke here for Portland or Seattle here over the next couple of days. East of the mountains is definitely more of a mixed bag, especially across portions of Idaho shown there. So looking at Seattle, Tacoma here over the next 10 days or so, you can see we're averaging 77, 78. So we're going to be slightly below average. This is the upper level low. It's going to be hanging out. This is the National Blend of Models, 12Z. Now, this is the temperature anomaly. I talked about this a little bit earlier here, but you can see that for the first half of the month, almost the first half, we have been exceptionally warm here across the region. A widespread area, 4 to 8 degrees above average for Washington, Oregon, and portions of Idaho here. You can see portions of Montana have actually been below average there, but much of the West has been above average. Pretty darn right warm. So it's going to be hard to get below average for the month of August. And point that out. That's worth mentioning. If we take a look at precipitation, you can see the yellow is below average here and the green is above average. So, we have been drier than normal here across Washington, Idaho, and Oregon. If we take a look at the current drought conditions, they do have this for the government of Canada. If you just want to Google it to check back on this time to time, I will show it once in a while, but you can see our friends up north here are dealing with some moderate, severe, and extreme drought out there. And it's been a pretty active couple years of fires out there as well. So this precipitation will be much needed, and hopefully this overperforms for many areas. Now, looking at a wider view of things here on the National Blend of Models, you can see Seattle is here. There's Portland. You got Spokane, of course, and you're talking about eastern Oregon, Idaho. You can see the valley areas and the terrain here kind of carved out with the cooler temperatures shown. If we go on into tomorrow, this is for Thursday, there's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We're going to be under the influence of this upper level low, so it's going to keep temperatures suppressed somewhat here across the region. So we're going to knock those temperatures back down. Are we going to end up with a below average August? Probably not, when you take all things into account. Now, taking a look at, this is for today. Let's go to Wednesday here, and you can see once we go to Thursday, they start to introduce some of this lightning and fire risk here across portions of Idaho and Oregon. And we go to Friday, Saturday, and I don't know if they're just issuing this, if they did bump that moderate risk up because there's lightning threat here across some of Portland and Seattle. I don't know. We'll see if they change that up. But some of these storms could be producing, better precipitation amounts. So it's not going to be probably a dry lightning threat so much across western areas. Now, looking at 6 to 10 day, kind of interesting here. It does show below average, but it also shows a little bit of above average here across some of the Pacific Northwest. So this isn't a slam dunk. We're not talking about a very cold system here across the region. This goes through August 23rd, 6 to 10 day. That makes sense, right? The above average precipitation signal there as we go through August 23rd. Here's the 8 to 14 day. You see the near normal across some of Washington, Oregon. But if you go off to the east, you're looking at above normal potentially as we go through August 27th. So we're probably going to have a hard time ending the month across the Pacific Northwest below normal. This is the 8 to 14 day that goes out to August 27th as well. But yeah, anyway, fun stuff coming up here. I mean, this is going to be really exciting for some of the weather weenies here. It can get kind of You can get to the doldrums a little bit here for the places west of the Cascades versus east of the Cascades, but it will be nice to see some thunderstorm activity west of the mountains here. I'll get my cameras out. I'll be trying to capture some lightning strikes here. But otherwise, yeah, we'll do this all again tomorrow. We'll break it down. We'll start to get into the high resolution models also. And otherwise, I hope you guys enjoy what's coming, and hopefully we get some precipitation. But otherwise, hope you guys are having a good day. We'll do this all again tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.